Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and joining me for this episode is Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Becky.
And Jenny. Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Becky.
So, after a year's hiatus, we decided to channel our feminine rage and bring back the Girl Crush episode.
So I think, didn't you say that like Jenny and I, neither one of us have done the Girl Crush, right?
I have not.
Okay, I haven't either. So this is mine and Jenny's first time.
Yeah, we did. So we did the Girl Crush. Leah and I did the Book Boyfriend tour, and then 6 weeks later, we did the Girl Crush episode in 2022.
Yeah.
And we tried to do Girl Crush in 2023, but however, there was like no response. Typically, when we do these episodes, we would do like a community nominate your girl crush, and then we'll vote on it, and then we get down to like a top winner that the community was a heroine that really the community could embrace.
Yeah.
Well, we tried to do that last year. So Carolina and Heather and I did the Book Boyfriend tour, and it was successful. Everybody nominated. And then when we went to do the Girl Crush tour, there were no nominations.
Yeah.
Not one. And so we ended up canceling it, which I hated to do. But, you know.
Stuff happens.
And I don't know. Amanda and I were talking about this a little bit previous, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but I wonder if our definition of what we expect out of our female main characters will now change post-election.
Oh.
If that affects
I
how
don't
we...
know. I mean, I've always kind of been that one who likes the one who burns the world down, so.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may change for other people, but I think Jenny and I are probably just getting some
Yep.
reinforcement these days.
I agree.
Probably. Okay, so we are going to deep dive into this fun, flirty, and downright fabulous topic, the girl crush. Whether it's admiration, inspiration, or a touch of envy, we're exploring these leading ladies in romance who have captured our hearts and make us swoon. Each of us has picked, I think we said 7, 5,
Yep.
7,
Yeah.
6.
I got endless, so
We
I can keep
same.
I put 7
Girl
on the dock,
crushes.
but I have backups.
Our girl crushes to share, so get ready for a lively discussion of full admiration fangirling. So let's get buzzing. First, before we get into our list of who's on our list, what do you define a girl crush as? Is this just like we put her on a pedestal, we want to be her? How do you define what a girl crush is for you? Amanda?
I think sometimes it's I want to be her, but a lot of times it's like I want to be best friends with her. Like this is somebody who would hide the body with me, like, or someone who would just do it for me if I couldn't do it myself. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I also think it for me, it's like, would I like this person without the hero? Like, because I read a lot of fantasy, and a lot of times it's like the heroine is the main character. So
Yeah. Well, can that book stand without the hero?
yeah.
Is it enough of a dynamic story, a dynamic character range that she carries the story and you want more about her? What about you, Jenny? What defines the girl crush for you?
They definitely have to be smart. Like I don't got time for like you being dumb. Like I just don't have time for that. Um and I'm with Amanda. Like it's somebody I would hang out with or be friends with or be a partner with. Yeah. Someone I could see in my real life, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
following
I
up and be
start
making
looking
a
at my
joke.
list, it is women with a mission, a goal, or it's women that overcome
Yes.
the obstacles that are in their way and do it in such a way that it is elegant and beautiful, but also like tough and dynamic.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think that for me, a girl crush does have to have a touch of femininity to her that, but also, but not weak. Does that make sense? Like, embraces that, yes, I am a woman. I'm not trying to be a man,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I can still own what I'm doing as a woman.
Yeah. I mean, you want essentially like you kind of want like that girl boss kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and I was gonna say that's kind of where like the thinking of how we look at women in romance might change. Like just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't do the job. You might do it differently, but it doesn't mean you can't be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so do do tropes influence your girl crushes? So do your girl crushes tend to be heroines that, are part of a friends to lover romance, or a heroine that maybe is boss employee and she's the boss? Do any of those kinds of tropes tend to influence your girl crushes? Like, do you have a common trope theme amongst your girl crushes?
Rock stars.
Rock
Uh,
stars.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. I don't think like the list that I'm using tonight isn't necessarily like trope specific, but if I look at, my overall list that I have on my Goodreads, there's a lot of single moms on
Mhm.
there, I
Okay.
think. And I do like the boss employee where she's the boss, and then also the age gap where she's older.
Okay. Okay. Apparently, Jenny is taking us to rock stars.
That's
I like the
that's
rock
girl boss.
stars.
That's yeah.
True.
So one of the discussions that we've talked about a lot over the last couple years is this unlikable heroine. People will talk about how, oh, I really loved this book, but the heroine was so unlikable. And I don't know if this is my oppositional defiance in me. Those are the ones I love. Like, I want her to be strong, and the world looks at her and says, yeah, I don't love you.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I'm that way too. Like my unlikable heroines are the too stupid to live ones.
Yeah.
Like those are the ones I don't like.
Right.
So yeah, I don't the unlikable heroine as it's used is doesn't apply for my books, I don't think.
Well, I just get tired of, and I don't want to use the word weak, but the character that she just feels like a placeholder. There's nothing dynamic about her. At least a too stupid to live character is at least doing more than just sitting there and looking pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
she has a personality, even if it's not a smart one.
Well, I look at the second book in Elsie Silver's Chestnut Spring series. I think it's Reckless. She's a nanny. It's an accidental pregnancy. And or I think maybe it's Flawless is that book. She kind of is a placeholder. There's nothing incredibly dynamic, but she's not too stupid to live. I mean, she's purposely a perfectly capable nanny, but there's nothing dynamic that says, oh my gosh, that woman is amazing. And those
Yeah.
are the ones that annoy the hell out of me. That, like, don't be, as a woman, don't be a placeholder in your life.
Right. And
Yeah.
what I can see the appeal to that, like from a reader's perspective, because then anybody can put themselves in the position of that character.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point.
it's not somebody I'm gonna think about after I read the book.
No.
Yeah.
Jen Ellen, the book I'm talking about is the second one, Single Dad Nanny. That, not the Doctor. The Doctor is the next book. Um, I just, I just struggle. I struggle. I want to be able to read the book, and when I'm done, I want her to have had something dynamic about her.
Yeah.
Heartless. I'm sorry, Heartless by Elsie Silver is the one I'm talking about. Cade and Willow. That book, she just, and I think we see that a lot in single dad nanny books,
Yeah.
where
Because they're kind of fading into the background behind the child sometimes.
yeah, and it
Right.
feels convenient,
Yeah.
and she doesn't have to do anything huge or dynamic.
No.
You know, I mean, childcare is not easy. As
No, it's not. But it's also not like revolutionary. Like you're not like inventing
yeah,
sliced bread. You're
Yeah.
taking care of
yeah.
children.
Um. Okay, so Amanda, you said that you tend to find single moms,
Yes.
or like the age gap where she is older. What is it about those women that you do find so dynamic? Like, what are some characteristics within your own list that you're like, she, you know, because of this, she was this dynamic?
So I didn't have any single moms on the particular list that I did tonight. I have some on my shelf, but I do have the one where the heroine is a little bit older, it's age gap. And I think it's like, she's the one with more life experience, typically in those books. And then usually there's like a little bit of a teaching element. So the one that I have on my list was The Shake Off by Lulu Moore. So it's Peyton and Ace. Peyton is like, she has her life together. She has a good job. She has her own apartment. She has friends. She's just kind of like got everything going for her. And Ace is a pitcher for the New York Lions. It's definitely like frat boy, like golden retriever situation. And they have a one night stand, and it is not what everyone like thinks it should be. Like she has this build up in her mind. He's this star baseball player. It's going to be great or whatever. And she ends up finishing herself off in the bathroom. And that's how the book opens. And she's like, okay, well, she gets up the next morning, gets ready for work, and he's like ready to go again. And she's like, oh, I've got to go to work. You can like see yourself out. And so she runs into him later, and they have mutual acquaintances. And he's like, oh, do you want to get together again? Like, have a repeat? And she's like, no, thanks. And he's like, why not? And she doesn't want to say anything at first. And then finally she's like, dude, because I had to go finish myself off in the bathroom because you're like a minute man or whatever. And like she just like lays it out there and tells him, and then he's like, he loses his mind. Like he can't like fathom that he's not like the greatest thing in the world in the sack, and he's never had any complaints before. And she has no problem telling him like, this was bad. I don't want to repeat.
Yeah.
And then he convinces her to like, he's like, I'm teachable. Like I will learn. And so like, I love the fact that she was like, no, I'm not going to do this again. I don't care if you're famous. I don't care that you're this big hot shot, like baseball player. Like you don't know how to please me. So no, thanks.
That's fantastic. Jenny, what about when the heroine has to overcome something, be it family circumstance, be it societal expectations, be it, disability? How does that play into your girl crushes? Because I know that those are big key pieces for you.
Yeah, I was like, that's pretty heavy into my girl crushes. Almost all of mine fit in like one or more of those like
Yeah.
micro tropes. Yeah, just seeing, I think that's for any character development. Like I want to see the character grow through something, even if we don't get it on page. Like I want to know like life hasn't been
I
like
have a
cupcakes and rainbows.
I have a book for an example of overcoming diversity, but because you said rock stars, I am really thinking that this book is likely on your list, so I'm not going to
Oh,
say it. Um,
yes, probably.
but I'll use a different example that I have that she was kind of on my list, but Astrid O'Malley from Walk of Shame by Avery Flynn. She is the daughter of a very famous hockey coach. She is left at the altar by a hockey star who's transferred to another team. She goes to work for that other team because her dad's now the head coach of that team. And she ends up dating another coach, but she has to face this man that broke her heart every day. And the guy that she ends up, her HEA is with, is his skating coach. And it's admirable to be able to walk out of something that could be so humiliating and force you into a corner, to walk out with your head held high and said, I'm better than this. I can move on from this. And I think that that's something too, right? Like,
Yeah.
Jen Ellen mentions in here that her girl crush is one that takes nothing short of an amazing grovel when it's called for.
Yeah.
And I do like that. But in all honesty, though, I think it has to be a little bit of the other way, that she never lets it get to the point that he has to grovel. That she's just very clear with her demands and her expectations from him. That she's calling him on the carpet long before it gets to the point where he has to.
Yeah, because then the grovel is more about him than it's about her.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yep.
Like, I think that she is going to have to I don't know, because I don't want to give my list away. So let's just get into this
Go into it.
list, because I
already
think that
started.
I wonder if we have. I'm curious and wonder if we do have some in common books. Like, I specifically, the one book that I was going to talk
Yeah.
about, I specifically left that off my list because I'm fairly certain it was going to be on Jenny's. And I have two that I'm fairly certain might be on Amanda's. Now, typically, we have given rules that it had to be within a certain publishing year. But because we didn't do it last year, and because the feminine rage is strong right now, and we just want to lift other women up, there were no rules. There was no publishing rules. You could go back as far as you wanted. I mean, if it's Ruth from the Bible, I'm going to question you a little bit. But
I'm gonna
I
have
don't
some
think you have
issues.
to worry about that.
I mean, you do you.
Yeah.
But there weren't any really rules. So these could be
Oh.
contemporary romances. These can be romanticities. This can be a dark romance. We didn't really put any rules on this list this year.
My brain is on a side quest.
Now you're on a side quest.
Yeah, like my brain is just like written like an essay of why Ruth cannot be your book girlfriend.
Okay.
Anyways.
Okay. And Jenny just had a moment, which,
Yep.
Oh my
which
gosh.
explains my TikToks that I've had for the last like 5 days.
Yes.
When your best friend is. Anyway, okay. Amanda, go ahead and give us your first girl crush. Briefly tell us what's so dynamic about her. Make sure you include title and author.
Okay. My first girl crush is Evelina Westerly from Wretched by Emily McIntyre. That is book 3 in her Never After series. She is kind of loosely based on the Wicked Witch of the West. So for everyone who's like all about the Wicked movie coming out, this is a very dark take on the Wizard of Oz. Evie her dad is actually like in the drug trade, the Westerly family. She is the one who designs or who created their designer heroine that's called Flying Monkey. She is 100% like an anti-hero. So in the beginning of the book, she goes out to a bar and she's like one night stand or whatever with this guy. And it turns out like he shows up working for the organization or whatever, but he's an undercover DEA agent. But sent in to kind of infiltrate the organization. And I'm trying to get to the point, sorry, that she's, so like, I only talk about Nick because he goes in and he's like, oh, thinking that she's just caught up in her family's drug business and whatever. And then he comes to find out, no, she is the mastermind behind this drug. Um, he calls her like, he's like, oh, she's the bad one. And then he's like, I don't care. Like she completely like flips him. She's never a good person. She's always the person who designs the drug. She's actually going after her family because they were responsible for one of her sister's death, or her older sister's death. Like, she is unapologetic. She just, like, she runs that organization. Like, I don't want to give like too much away, but like, she's a bad, like,
So brains,
she's the
badass,
brain. She's the
fearless.
brain. She's a badass. She's just like, she takes no shit. It is
Yeah.
like, I love her. She is like one of my favorite heroines, like whatever you want to call her, villainous, whatever.
Love
But
that. I love that. Okay, Jenny, what do you got?
Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Kotron. Ellie Oliver is the main female character. Well, there's two main female characters, but it kind of all centers from her point of view. She has a meet cute with another woman and they spend like all day together, and then she kind of has like gets ghosted. And a whole year later, she finds herself in a fake relationship with a coworker and goes to the holidays with him, and his sister is the girl from before.
Oh,
Yeah. So it has a really great demi and bi representation, and it has like fake relationship is like probably my favorite trope. And it's kind of like a twist on that because the fake relationship isn't the one that lasts.
yeah. Which is interesting because I love a twist on a fake relationship.
yeah,
It's
I love that. Okay, so, and you guys are probably, as we get into December, going to hear me talk about this book more because it is 1,020,000% at the top of my 2024 reads. So, Will's From Everyone I Kissed Since You Got Famous by May Marvel. I love Will's. I love her. I love her. I love her. I love her. And I think what it is she is learning who she is through grief. She's lost her dad. She's not necessarily in a job that she loves, but she's really good at it. So, and she's long loved her best friend from childhood who went off to Hollywood and got very famous. And kind of as her best friend's star was rising, she went on and took on this TikTok tour of once a week she kisses random people on TikTok. Just kisses them. No discussion. They've never most of them she's never met before. It's very random, and she's learning about herself and what works for her and what doesn't work for her through this series of experiments. And I think it's like that age-old coming to age, but she's older than that, right? She's like 27, 28. So this is not someone at 22 doing this. This is someone that's established in her career. Her life is, she may almost be 30. Her life is moving forward, but she needs to figure out who she is and reinvent herself. And that's a theme for me and all of mine is these women that are capable of finding success and reinventing themselves after not necessarily the greatest things happening in their life, be it grief, loss of job, because
that's one of the like qualities I would say is attractive. Like life didn't like because Will has some like shit goes down,
yeah,
life goes sideways, and then you may do. And how long do you wait? Like in that,
yeah.
like this it works, but is it what's best? Yeah,
I
I can
just
see it.
I love Wells. I love that book. Um, I have their next book, just FYI, that comes out next summer.
oh,
It's a romantic comedy suspense. It's based on Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Oh,
ooh, that sounds fun.
but sapphic. So I'm in it. Okay, Amanda, what you got next?
Okay, so no one is surprised. I'm still very much in my fantasy, like PNR, like when we first started talking about this, I had a lot of like romantic suspense, but it's like all of that's gone by the wayside. I'm leaning heavy into the fantasy. So I read The Mist Thief by L.J. Andrews. It is book 3 in her Everseas. Um, I don't know how many books are going to be in it, but there's 3 right now. So it's the first book after the original duology, and it's Scatty and Jonas. They call her Scatty, but she is a princess. She's an elven princess. She lives on an island that disappears in the mist that no one can find. She is actually ends up being kind of an antagonist at the very end of the first 2 books. She's being controlled by like her grandfather and a man that like they want her to marry, but she has this power that they call it her mist, and she can eat anything, like anything magical. Like she can take down realms, she can take down people, like she can put them somewhere else. She has this enormous power, but she's been used basically since birth by an adopted grandfather. And then she's used against the Ever King and his like the Ever King and Ever Queen in the first books. But so Jonas is part of a Fey guild. He's actually, they call it the Court of Nightmares. So all of their power has to do with something nightmarish, like shadows or dreams or something like that. So to keep like the elven group from basically like being an enemy, he's like, oh, well, we should get married. So they end up getting married, and she's always been told that this power is a terrible thing, and she's actually been like drained like of blood, like to keep it under control or whatever. And so she goes to the Court of Nightmares with Jonas, and basically like they help her realize that her power is like amazing, and that it can be used for good things, and that she doesn't have to be terrified of it. And watching her like evolve into her power, like she just it was a really nice thing to watch, because it's someone who has this enormous power, but she's like always thought of it as something bad. And like I really enjoyed how like she finds out and she finds her people, like these people are there to support her or whatever, but obviously she ends up like kind of taking down like her adopted grandfather and the guy who was using and abusing her. So I'm a really big fan of that series this year. So there are a lot of strong heroines in that, and I'm still leaning heavy into the fantasy. So if anybody has any questions, DM me.
Stacy's like, that sounds so good. So
Oh,
you might
Stacy
be
would
hearing
love
from
it.
Stacy.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you got next, Jenny?
Between Never and Forever by Britt Benson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one.
I was gonna
I
say.
figured.
That was the one.
Yeah, Savannah is, I mean, she kind of has the rags to riches story, and you see like how much she learns to grow and support herself when she's kind of not had anyone to lean on for so long. And
Yeah.
She's
and
been through it.
yeah, and she doesn't like she let people use her for so long that she gets to a point where she's like, no, I'm not gonna settle for less than what I want.
Yeah.
That also has like one of those great side character redemptions in that book, that just, and the fact that she has the ability to forgive
Right? Yeah,
and
like some pretty
some pretty big things. So
yeah.
I think that's, yeah. And it's, again, it's that we can elevate ourselves
Yeah.
above where people expect us to be. Okay, so my next one is, I'll go with Beth Hale from What Saves Us by Maggie Gates,
Yeah.
which is the third book in the Falls Creek series. It was a big debate between book 2 and really all those books. All 3 of the heroines in those
Yeah.
books, like,
Yes.
exceptional heroines, and a favored girl gang. But I have to say, What Saves Us by Maggie Gates was one of those stories that, as women, we don't talk about enough, right? We don't talk about, defining ourselves as women, and we're not perfect. and we make mistakes. Beth had an affair. She ended up pregnant. She found out the man was married. She's trying to right her wrongs. And then, like, her birth story for her child
Right?
was like the worst. But I think in that book, the inner strength that is shown in that story, that even in her darkest day, she tried to get up. She tried to move forward. And I think that that's a skill we don't always give enough props to, right? Because
Yeah.
Right.
how many days would it be easy? I'm just going to stay in bed today. I'm not putting pants on. And even if it's only soft pants, you get points because you put the pants on and didn't just stay in bed.
Yeah.
And I love that about her. That whole book, there's just, I mean, it makes me a little teary thinking about that book. There's just so much emotion in that book. And she's just, you know,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. She like rips your like just rips to your soul. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, Beth is one of those characters that stays with you. Like, as soon as somebody mentions Falls Creek, Maggie Gates, I think of Beth and how dynamic she was as a character.
Yeah. I think she did a really good job with that entire series. And like even we recorded a quick shot a few minutes ago when we were talking about a side character that we can't stop thinking about from that series. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, what do you got next?
is it me?
Yeah?
Me
Yeah.
or Jenny?
Yeah.
You?
Oh, I
You're
was like, is it my turn? I'm sorry, I'm lost.
It's okay.
It's okay. You're up, Amanda. And I didn't say your name, so you're up, Amanda.
Oh no, wait, it's Jenny's turn.
No, it's your turn.
Is it my turn?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're on book 3. Book 3, in a circle.
Oh God. Okay, sorry. It's been a
All
long
right.
day. So
It's okay.
all right, so my next one is actually there's very little romance in this book. It's actually a series. It's called Nyx by Shannon Mayer. It is also like a urban fantasy situation. I can't really talk about too much about what's happening because there's like a whole interwoven story. But basically, she's very powerful, but she has been put in a mental institution and basically made to forget who she is. She's been told that, her family is all dead. She breaks out of this institute. She's basically been gaslit for years. Like her family is trying to keep her down because she is the most powerful person in their family. So she basically gets out and burns the world down. Like no one escapes. Like she comes for everybody. There's a little bit of romance, which I can't kind of like talk about because it kind of spoils it, but like it is 5 books of her like getting out of this situation and just burning it down. Like it is 5 books of feminine rage. And like I highly recommend if you're just feeling that and you don't need a lot of romance and you just want some carnage, like they're quick books, like highly recommend.
Just go with the rage.
Yeah.
Jenny, what do you got?
Out on a Limb by Hannah Bowman Young. Winfrey or Win. It's another one of those like she has a one night stand, she's pregnant. Which this is a unique like situation with the like getting pregnant in the one night stand. They like go from lovers to friends to lovers.
Yeah.
But I mean, she decides pretty quickly like she's gonna keep the baby, but then like the struggles of like being a good mom, which everybody goes through, but she has a disability and she's kind of like weighing like if it's even possible to take care of a baby, and seeing the way she grows through that. And she keeps a pretty positive attitude, in my opinion, through it all.
She does. And then there's the other that, the hero that she chooses to be friends with and lovers. He's an amputee. And so,
Right. Oh,
they're not
I mean,
making it easy for themselves.
no.
It's hard enough to be a parent able-bodied, let alone.
Right? Yes.
That book was on my list, and I was like, I took it off because then I thought, oh, am I projecting? Anyway, I do feel at times I was like, I think I have Jenny's list, but it was not Jenny's list.
That's why I went completely like other than the one contemporary, like most mine are mostly like either something I know you guys haven't read or like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, this is not going to come as a surprise to anyone. Um, Camille, from A Proposal They Can't Refuse, Vega. How do you say her first name?
Camilla.
Camilla. Okay, the spelling is wrong.
Well, it's K
She's
A
she
M
spells
I
it.
L A H.
Yeah. So
Camilla. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but
Camilla,
that's how I read it.
I don't know. Camilla Vega from A Proposal They Can't Refuse.
Yeah.
And again, this is one of those situations where her family is voting against her. Like, they are doing everything in their power with unrealistic expectations on her and kind of sabotaging her as they go. And then she's got the grandpa that's making mischief, and somehow she's responsible for him too.
Yeah.
And I just think that she's one of those, again, that rises from the ashes, right? Like, everybody's
Yeah.
pretty much counted her out. Like, you aren't ever going to achieve what you think you can achieve. You dream too big, you want too much. And she says, "No, hold my beer. I'm getting
Yeah.
all those things." And I loved that. I love that about her. That she doesn't let any of them define her, even though they
All of the
try.
heroines in that series are
I
girl crush worthy.
it was it was hard to pick one, but I
Yeah.
felt like, and again, it comes down to that there is a girl gang there.
Oh yeah.
Those women can fight on my behalf. I want them in my
Right.
corner. Okay, Amanda, who do you got next?
Okay, so my next one is Elena Devereaux. She is from the Guild Hunter series by Nalini Singh. So I've been a fan of Nalini Singh's like Psy Changeling, more of the Shifter series for a long time. And I put off reading this series because it's a very long series and most of the books are about one couple. And I was like, oh, I don't know. But I finally read it this year and I read like 16 books in like a week. So so Elena is actually she's part of the Guild Hunter, or she's a Guild Hunter, and they basically like track down vampires, errant vampires for the angels that run the cities. So the angels are all powerful. Raphael is the Archangel of North America. It's set in New York. The angels are like described as being very cold. They don't have a lot of emotion or whatever. And she ends up having to do a job for Raphael, and things happen and she's like about to die, and he basically like kind of puts some of his essence in her or whatever. But so she ends up like starting to turn into an angel as well. But she also puts a bit of humanity into him. So like as she's learning to be this new person, this new being, she's also like kind of helping him become more human, which plays out over the various books when they're going to battle with other angels and things like that. So, but I really liked it a lot because she gives him, something he didn't have before. So she takes, she becomes an angel, but she like creates this like emotion that they can have that they didn't think like after centuries of being alive that, that just wasn't possible. So I really like that aspect of it. And in the same breath, like she's also like she's a badass. Like she's, she hunts down vampires. She's like, she's very much a like, kick butt kind of person. So
She's emotional, but she's
yeah.
not gonna take your crap.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean you guys can see where I'm leaning. So.
We get it. She went for the warrior woman.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jenny, what do you got?
I have Rush by Emma Scott. Carly or Charlotte is the main female character. This is a little bit older book, but I just read it this year. And it was probably one of my top reads of this year. Because Charlie is like, she's a Juilliard trained musician, but she gets herself in a sticky situation with the conductor, and she ends up being a caretaker for a guy that just became blind, but he was like an extreme, like his job was doing extreme sports and photographing them. So he's
Okay.
a little
Yeah.
to be, but she sees his situation and then she kind of like uses it as a mirror for herself. Like, I don't have a reason to not keep reaching my goal. So, um, you see her kind of like grow and get to a place where she can do even better than what her previous goal was.
Okay. Um, Next up for me is Crystal from Holding by Alexandra House. This is a hockey romance. Crystal, this is a second chance romance. Crystal is her ex-husband is a hockey player for a St. Louis team, and they got divorced because she was not diagnosed and unmedicated for bipolar 2 disorder, and her chaoticness just destroyed their relationship. So divorced, but life has come back around and they're back in each other's orbit. And she shows him that how much she has grown, that she has embraced her diagnosis, that she is working towards being healthy and making better choices, and that she's put the work in. Like, the diagnosis was devastating to her. But over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, she has turned herself around and shown that she's going to do the work and do better. And she doesn't need him, but they still love each other. And he steps in to help. And she's like, "You cannot come in and help. You can be here when I ask, but you cannot take over." So she's very clear to let him know that while she does struggle with her diagnosis, he's not going to fix things for her because that's what destroyed them the first time. And so learning from their mistakes and moving forward, and, something as devastating as a bipolar disorder diagnosis, um, it can go one of two ways, right? And
Right.
Yeah.
she is doing the work and doing what she's supposed to be doing, but not letting him come in and just fix things. Um,
Yeah.
and she's managing his fame as a very successful black hockey player. And so it's a really powerful book. It's a really powerful series. So if you haven't, the series kicks off with Goal, um, and then Holding. I 10 out of 10 recommend this series. Anyway, Amanda, what do you got?
Okay. I have another Elena, but it's Elena Lombardi from Gianna Darling's Anti-Heroes in Love duet. Um, if you haven't read the Evolution of Sin trilogy, you may not want to listen to the part I'm going to say next. So Elena's sister and her fiance cheat on her in those 3 books. So Elena's the one that's been cheated on, and her whole family thinks she should just be okay with it, that these two are in love now and she should just be fine with it. She's not, and I don't blame her. I hate them. I still think she should have set them on fire. But anyway, so I read those 3 books and to get to her book, and she's a powerful defense attorney. She ends up being the attorney for Dante Salvatore, who's like the capo for the mafia in New York. And he's actually been accused of a crime that he actually didn't commit. So she's defending him in court. But this is really just like, this was everything that I wanted for her. He is like top book boyfriend material, and like she deserves him. Like, she has been through some crap with her family, and like he is there for her and says that, you are completely valid in your feelings, like, rage, like, just you know, like you don't have to sit back and take this just because your family is telling you that it was okay, because it wasn't okay. So, and then she just, she's very powerful in her own right. She, you know, kind of goes over to the dark side with him, and like they embrace that whole situation. But like I love her. I just felt so bad for her in those first three books, and I was like, she needs something good and she gets it. So
Okay. Jenny, what do you got?
Tracing Holland by Ali Stiles. This is book 2 in the Night Shift Black series. So this is actually the hero is who you see the point of view like halfway in the first book. I know it's unconventional. But this is his story, and his heroine is Holland. They're both rock stars touring together. She's the lead of the other band. And basically like he's recovering. He doesn't want to be on tour. He just wants to lie in bed all day. And she's dealt with some crap, and she's the complete opposite. She's very optimistic. And they kind of have they have that tension of attraction, but they don't like each other. And she's basically like, look, I know your life sucks, but we got to find some like middle ground. Um, and they kind of work it out through music.
Okay. I the debate that I'm doing in my head. Um, okay, I'm gonna go with Anna from Strung Along by Hannah Cohen. Now, first of all, I need to say this book is the slowest of slow burns. Like so much push and pull. It's not typically something that I would love, but
yeah.
Anna wins this book for me. And the fact that this was such a slow burn, kind of friends to lovers experience, it um it's because she was such a dynamic character in the book. So in the book, she has been cheated on and kind of left at the altar by her fiance, and basically he blames her for it. Like, this is your fault. She just wasn't good enough for him, pretty enough for him. She's
He couldn't have told her a little sooner,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, come
right.
on now.
Um, and she moves to this small town where she's a hairstylist, and she knows nobody. She moves to this small town. She moves from Vancouver into the prairies, into the Manitoba area, and knows nobody, and has never lived through a prairie winter. And
Oh,
she has this amazing group of friends, but she falls in love with the hometown hero slash bad boy. He is a country music singer, has gone to Nashville, and he's had some repairs done to his vocals and is kind of hiding out at his family's um, farm and ranch up in the prairies. And what it is for me, for her, is she easily could have just let him take care of her. And she kind of does. Like, he comes and makes sure her car starts. And there are several times where she's ready to give up. Her sister's married. We had her sister's book in the previous series, and she could have easily called her sister and said, "Get me out of here. I'm coming to you." But she never gives up. She just keeps going. And no matter what happens or what shitty thing is going her way, she just keeps showing up. And I think that that's something that we don't necessarily, again, give enough credit to ourselves.
yeah.
Even when you don't feel wanted or you don't feel like you belong, the fact that you continue to show up for yourself, like I think we've all probably had that job, that social
Yeah.
setting, that organization where you're like, I think people groan when I walk in the room. The fact that you just every time just keep going and keep showing up. That is admirable for me. And I really liked that with Anna in this book. Um, okay, this is your last one because we're almost at an hour, guys. So, last one, Amanda, who do you got?
Okay, my last one is Gin Blanco from the Elemental Assassins series by Jennifer Estep. So Jen is also known as the Spider. So she's an assassin. Her entire family was killed when she was 13. And these people think she is dead as well. But she was taken in by a mentor who kind of he turns her into an assassin. He was one. Um, and basically like he gets murdered in the first book and she's kind of like, well, maybe I want to get out of this life or whatever. And she actually owns like a barbecue restaurant in Tennessee. And so it's like kind of like this quirky little situation, but she gets involved in like a mystery in the first book and finds out that, you know, a couple books later that her sister is also not dead and the person who killed her family is still out there. And so the series is kind of them going up against this other person to basically kill them. So it's like it's a revenge plot. There is a little bit of romance. She has a romance with like one of the detectives for the first couple of books, but then she meets her happy ever after guy in book 3. He's also an elemental. But she has stone and ice magic, and then she goes up against like this person who has like fire magic. So there's a lot of elemental things going on. I really like the whole world that she built. It's like 19 books or whatever, but I really like it. And then again, it's just like I'm very much like into the assassin, the revenge plot. Like she is, you know, she's going after her family's killers. So I have like a bit of a theme. So, but
It's
yeah,
okay.
but I really like that series. It's older. So, but I don't talk about it very much, but
Okay. Jenny, what do you have for your last one?
Oh, I'm afraid Amanda's gonna like take me out.
no, sorry. It's been a week. There's been a lot of anger flowing. So yeah.
I get it. I get it. So it's really hard. My last one's gonna be A Lady's Formula, by Elizabeth Edward. It is a historical. Not sure how much like truth is in it, like, but it's the Secret Scientist of London, book number 1. And Lady Violet Hughes, her husband that she kind of got betrothed to, died. So she's able to kind of take the reins of his money and use it how she sees fit. So she has a society of women doing all kinds of scientific and mathematical and crazy stuff in the back of her house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And they're making like all kinds of discoveries and blowing things up, and yeah, it's just very fun.
I always think of that book as kind of a bit of a love letter to Lovelace.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're doing all this secret stuff and like you're going so farther than the men. Like if you would just listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I actually picked 2 side characters, women, for my last pick. It is Sylvie and Nanette from Rena Morgan's Menahaven. They are the moms of
Yes.
the Menahaven.
Yep.
And these women are phenomenal, right? These women started out as prostitutes and built such a sense of family and community and belonging that now they have raised their 2 sons to create this found family of exceptionalness that just works hard, loves harder, and at the end of the day, like everything should have worked against them, right? Like their kids should not have been as amazing men that they are, but they poured so much love and dedication into them and did everything they could to be better, that now they have all of this to show for their hard work. And they're also a hoot and a half.
They
Right.
are.
I was like, you definitely need them together. They're like sweet and sour.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And they're sassy and and they show up a little bit in the New Orleans Mafia books. So like they just don't take no either, because they look at the women and are like, you're the boss. Like, don't let him get away with that shit.
Yeah.
You come with us, he's done. Like, even though these are their boys, they don't allow them to get away with being disrespectful or uncaring. They're just kind
Yeah.
of their own badasses, and I love them so much.
They're fantastic.
Anyway,
Yeah, that was a good one.
read that series.
We did.
Yes, we have done the assignment.
You two did the assignment. Well, Jenny was worried she was going to get voted off the island. Though, for a
I
while.
did. So I was like, I'm gonna binge these.
Yeah.
They're just really good, easy reads too.
They are there.
Okay, so those are our girl crushes. You can find our full list on our website. We obviously have more we didn't get to, so maybe there will be extras listed also. We are on to week 3 of Project Backlist. At Buzzing About Romance, we know every romance reader loves discovering an author's backlist. So we have, over the course of the previous 2 weeks, been highlighting an author and their backlist. And we're going to go forward till the end of the year doing the same thing. And then at the end of the year, there will be, in the first part of January, a big giveaway from all of these authors. So this week's Project Backlist is author Carrie Ann Ryan, and we are talking about her On My Own series, which is kind of a dark horse series for her. It's only 3 books and a novella, and it's not really connected to anything else.
I was like, I don't think I've read this one.
It's new adult, it's college, but it's not her Montgomery's. There's not much. A Montgomery might show up in a book, but it's not a Montgomery book or series.
Gotcha.
So about Carrie Ann, here are some fun facts to know. She's a plotter and outlines her path so that she can enjoy the writing as she goes along. So she knows where she's going. She needs directions. She always has 2 to 3 drinks at her side: water, coffee, tea, sparkling water, and or a protein shake. So she is a beverage girly. She can't eat while working because she'll graze and dictate. She's a grazer. And so when she dictates, then food flies and all that kind of stuff. She had to reorganize her office to fit her new series so she could focus. She had to add bookshelves because she added this new series, The Cage Family, and the books weren't going to fit. They were just in stacks and boxes. So she had to reorganize her whole office. She painted an accent wall and the ceiling. Anyway, randomly, I text her every day for accountability, and randomly she'll be like, today I'm organizing my closet. I'm like, how many chapters do you owe me? She's like, 3. And I'm like, should we be organizing our closet when we should be writing 3 chapters? Every book she has written, there has been a cat in her arms at some point while she's writing. She has some of the neediest kitties. So there's that. This series, the On My Own series, book 1 is My One Night. Again, this is a new adult college romance. It's a one-night stand, friends with benefits, a bit of a dare, and they're in college. It's available ebook on the library, Kobo Plus, and the audio is, I think, in Hoopla. Amanda, you read this book?
I did. I just read it this week. It's a really quick read. I like both of those characters a lot. And I'm not typically college is not my go-to. I think just because I'm so far removed that it's hard for me to get into that headspace. But I really liked both of those characters a lot. The situation where she kind of gets dared to, kind of let loose for the night, and he's there, and then also too, I was really interested, I guess his brothers have books. Is that?
Yeah, his brothers
is that what
have
it is?
books.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to read those books too. So yeah, I'm invested. I'm gonna go back.
Currently, book 1, My One Night, is free on all platforms. So if you would like a copy of the ebook, I did link it in our Discord. You will also find it linked on our On the Shelf show notes at buzzingaboutromance.com. I read this book when it came out in 2021, I believe. Again, quick, easy read, not my typical normal subgenre, but I really also enjoyed it. Okay, it's now Book of the Week time. we're here for book of the
The
week.
wing.
I personally scratched
So
out
sweet.
5 books of the week till I came up with my book of the week. So
He
let's hope
did.
your
I
pick was
witnessed it.
easier. Amanda, what's your book of the week?
My book of the week is actually The Kings of Kearney by Nevessa Allen. So this was, I came out a couple of years ago. It's a single standalone motorcycle romance. She actually has a note in there that said it started out as like Sons of Anarchy fanfic on her website, and someone took the liberty of putting it on Goodreads, but it was only like a couple of chapters, and she could not get Goodreads to take it down. So out of spite, she finished and wrote a full-length novel about like kind of like the Sons of Anarchy fanfic. Um, it's Krista has moved to town. Because she put her grandmother in like an assisted living facility that has like a really good Alzheimer's care. She is former Air Force aerial gunner. She was like injured in battle, so she's kind of got that going on. But the town, the motorcycle club, is all full of former military men and women. So you had to have been in the military to be in the motorcycle club. She is not, but Jacob, the hero, is. He's a former Army Night Stalker. He is 6 foot something, tattooed, like badass. Like he just like oozes danger. And this is only told from Krista's point of view. It's like, and I didn't miss him at all. Like there's enough like description that I completely like felt like I knew what was going on. There's a lot of secrets, a lot of mystery with the motorcycle club. They end up like finding out that a rival club is running drugs through their grandmother's assisted living facility. Like I really like this book. It was my first Nevessa Allen book. I wanted to check out something else before I started the whole lights out craze, and I liked it a lot. Like if you just want to read a motorcycle club book without having to get into a series, like I highly recommend it.
Okay. Jenny, what's your book of the week?
Uh, Fresh Meat by Jasmine Miller. This is a little bit older book. I seriously took my Amazon wish list and just like went like this, so that what was ever at the top, like that's what I read because I've had a really hard time like sticking with something. So I'm like, I'm gonna read this book. It's he's a professional swimmer. She's the nanny because it's kind of like not quite baby on a doorstep, toddler on a doorstep.
Yeah,
Mom dies and like, hey, guess what? We had a kid together. Congratulations.
I like that
And
one.
yeah, because she also has her own dreams and like nanny's not like her
No, she's
destination.
kind of a Miss Rachel
Yeah, very
YouTube
much.
star.
Like she was on like kind of like they call it wiggle time on there, and then she wants to be on Kinder Street or Kinder Street or so like Sesame
Right.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
she has her own music program. So yes, she's Miss Rachel in yellow instead of pink.
My book of the week is Santa Maybe by Carla Luna. And actually, this book was on my girl crush list, and I debated. The heroine's name is Rosie. She has worked her way up from the bottom to become the assistant manager of a hotel chain out on the island of Vancouver. And her hero is a fitness instructor together. He's been pining after her, but she has like such oldest daughter energy. Like she's going to do everything to be successful. She's also the daughter of immigrants, so she feels like she has to work 7 times harder to prove she's worthy of all of that. And it's Carla Luna, so you know there's just a little bit more to it. And it was really great because the hero's a little bit of a golden retriever, but she is not a black cat. She is not prickly. She just has this really strong work ethic. But she's never
Yeah.
mean. And she has this great group of friends, and the friends are all going to get books in this hotel. So I'm really excited for this series. And I do
Yeah, I
have
have that
a
on pre-order.
I have a author spotlight dropping on Tuesday for Carla for her book. And she's always a hoot.
Yes.
Always a
She
hoot
is.
to chat with. So we spent like the first half, you'll have to listen to it. First half of the interview was about Broadway, just so we're all clear.
That does not surprise me.
No,
Does this
I
shock
love her.
anyone? No.
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 Okay, so welcome to our new Patreon member, Miriam. We are so glad to have you, and we look forward to having you join us for book clubs. This month's swag packs are sponsored by author Emma Fox, Shannon Elliott, and Danica Flynn, and those should start hitting mailboxes tomorrow. For a list of books we talked about this weekend, please visit our On the Shelf show notes at buzzingaboutromance.com. We are back Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with The Truth Never Spoken by Amber Cordova. And then next Sunday, we are dipping our toes into the holiday reads. We are preparing the jolliest of holiday TBRs for you all. So make sure you're back here to join us next Sunday. If you loved this episode, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform or right here on YouTube and share it with your friends. And your support helps us bring more exciting content to you every week. That wraps up our deep dive into the world of our girl crushes. Thank you for buzzing about romance with us tonight. A big shout out, thank you to Jenni and Amanda for joining me and sharing your picks. We would love to know who are your girl picks, so make sure you jump over to our Discord and let us know in the bar talk. Who are some of your girl crushes that we did not mention tonight? Or if you agreed emphatically with us and think that Sylvia and Nanette are the best girl crushes ever, please feel free to jump over there and tell me. I always like to be right. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Until next time, everybody, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.